Hey everybody, thanks for showing up today and showing interest in the irrigation module within Vectorworks. So let me make a couple quick statements. Number one of the things that leads a lot of people to this is they want to get numbers. They want to know how much pipe, how many heads, certain things like that for a bid document. Vectorworks will do that definitely. But one of the key pieces also that we see is there's a need for efficient irrigation all over the country, all over the world, quite frankly. And the only way to get to efficient irrigation is through an appropriate design. And that's really the tools within Vectorworks. So let's take a look at this. I have a drawing. If you have not had a chance to download this, it will be available to you, or get a hold of us and we can get you a copy of this. So I'll have this irrigation small mixed file here ready to go. It is being sent to you, with all of these various pieces built in and kind of prepared. Just to let you know, I also have some irrigation labels, a few irrigation details just to play with, call out styles. I also have a few plants. I've included these plants because these plants have specific info as far as the water range. This is going to work very good for obviously those people in California for MWILO needs, but also just efficient understanding of what our water use is. So all of that is involved here. And then let's dive right into it. So here we go. We have our site. We have a few turf areas here. Large turf area in the back that really isn't so large. It's kind of a complex site. We have some plants, plant beds. Along with this, we need to not only create turf irrigation and connect that to a system, we also need to have drip irrigation based on the water usage of these plants. So we can kind of go from there. All right, when I design, there are a few things that we need to do. Number one, there's some key setup on the front side that I like to go through. Let's take a look at what that is. Let's go to Landmark, Irrigation Settings. Here we have the ability to adjust your units. If you need to adjust these, great. Obviously, I'm Imperial here. I'm in the US. If you are overseas or metric, these will be in metric, and you can change these to whatever you want. So if there is a specific need, instead of gallons per minute, if you wanted to see liters per minute, great, you could change that. Pipes and tubing. This is the most important part to really pay attention to. The others I'll just kind of touch base on, but this is important. The 10%, 20% pressure variation and loss factor are kind of predetermined. I like to leave those. High-level users like to adjust those every little bit, but I find they're really good. The main part is down below here. We have mainline, lateral line, and drip tubing. The key here is setting that pre-default piece. If you are designing using, we'll say, a polyethylene series 80 for your main line or a polyethylene series 100, great. If you're using schedule 40, use schedule 40. This is a predetermined piece that can go in. I'm going to go ahead and use class 160. Down below, we see, maximum velocity generally tends to be set at 5 feet per second. We don't want to increase that or decrease that, but if you really need to, you could. Default trench depth, this is important. What is your default trench depth? It will actually embed that within the model. I'm going to say 12 inches is usually what we do here in my location. And then your default sleeve type. If you're adding sleeves, what is that default sleeve type? I like to use 3 or 4 inch. I'll actually move that to 4 inch. The big key is over here on the right hand side. You'll notice that we have check marks in front of all this, but we only have a few that say in-selected default pipe type. In other words, that class 160 pipe is only available in 1 inch, 1 1/4, 1 1/2. You get the idea here. All right. I don't want it to calculate to a lower value. It's not even available in that type of pipe. I could start clicking all of these that I don't want. Now, a nice little addition that has been added is the use none. This allows me to deselect and then select what I want. And in this case, my mainline, I'll run mainline all the way to a 3-inch pipe, depending on the size of what I'm doing. I don't do a lot above that. So that would be key. Set these up. That means it automatically calculates the pipe within that range. My lateral line, same thing. I'm going to switch this to a 160 in my case. Whatever you want to choose, I'll say use none. And I don't like laterals past 2. So I choose those. Your drip tubing, is it polyethylene or vinyl? And then what is that default trench depth? If you are doing subsurface drip, you would give this a value. Here, I am running on the surface for my plant beds, so I'll leave it at 0. There is a zoning. I want to kind of briefly touch base here. A lot of people see this and are very concerned that I can only do 4 zones. We do recognize zones as a valve zone type system. This is actually for your coverage analysis. In other words, the overlapping pieces of those arcs, and we'll go up to 4 coverages or beyond. This is what this is about. We usually just leave this be, but you're good there. And then same with classing. High-level users might want to change a few things in here. Across the board, I've never found a need to change anything here. This is a really good setup. So go ahead, just leave it as it is, but I just want to talk about what it is. You don't have to do anything in either one of these. So that's the first primary setup. The second setup that we're going to do is I'm going to go to my irrigation tool set, which is that little raindrop, and I'm going to go over here to outlet. The key here is to go to the little wrench and pencil or the preferences. I want to make sure that I show pressure and show flow. You can do that on your drip outlet also. You'll notice I already have that kind of set up for speed. I'll do that on the valve, point of connection, my system components all have that. The one difference is going to be pipe. Here, I want to show flow and nominal diameter. I'm not too concerned about showing the flow direction. Technically, Vectorworks will determine the direction of flow on that pipe. We don't really have to worry about it. So I'll choose those 2. Now we're really ready to design. So let's zoom in. Let's take a look at how we can do this. One of the things that I'm going to point out is I like to design having trees, shrubs, perennials on different layers. I actually even have a ground cover layer. I will go ahead, I'll zoom back so you can see all this. I'll go ahead because I'm designing on this. I'm going to turn these off. I like to have everything off so I can concentrate in my area of what I'm covering. However, I like to every once in a while turn on the trees or gray them out so I can understand when I'm piping or where my coverage is going to affect specific trees and work around that. So we'll leave it off for now. We'll go a little simple for this. We don't have a lot of time. So let's go straight to the outlet tool. The outlet tool, we have a few placement modes. I'm going to use the first mode, which is just the insert mode. I will pick an outlet. You go right here to the little picker, and I have Hunter Industries MP rotators set up. You can use pretty much anything you want. Rainbird, Toro, Irritrol, it's all here. Whether they're sprays, rotors, you name it. We're going to go ahead and do this as kind of a small little yard. Once I click, the placement of a head becomes really pretty simple. It is click where the head goes. I will drag up to my perimeter. You'll notice that it wants to grow to different areas and almost snap to different areas. Okay, so I'll go to my minimum radius here and click once, arc over, click again. Okay, pull this off to the side. I'm going to show you what that is one more time. We click to set that head. We find our radius, click again, and then we swing up to create wherever that arc is going to be and click again. That's how we place a head. So it's a 3-click positioning system. So there's a few different modes we can use. I'm going to go ahead and I'll just pick my corners. I really like picking the corners here first and defining those. I'd like to fill this in between. I'll use the third mode. This allows me to click at the end of that arc, click back, arc over at 180 degrees, and then just drag along, and I start to get duplicates. And away I go. Now, the coverage here is pretty good. I'm going to show you how to monitor coverage. I like to go to the design zone and just draw a shape around. I don't care if it's, on that property line or not. I'll cover around that. I'll then go to the object info palette and click down at the bottom here, show coverage analysis. This gives me kind of a look on where I'm covering. You can see that the more overlap I get, the darker the color gets. You'll notice that up here at the end, I don't quite cover it. I do kind of get a red hot spot that isn't covered. And as we know, and I'll just go ahead and delete this shape here. As we know, the best coverage here would really be to duplicate this on the other side to get true head-to-head coverage. So instead of duplicating this, here's a really nice trick is I will just drag around this area. I'll deselect my turf. Oop, let me grab that one more time. There we go. Deselect around that turf. I will then go use my mirror tool to find the center of this turf area and draw a line horizontally. I've now duplicated that row. This is a really nice trick. I get a lot of people that say it takes me a long time to set all of this. If I have a rectangular area or I need to duplicate this, I'll do 1/2 of it and then just mirror over. It's a much faster way to work. All right, let's do that one more time up here. Let's go ahead, just so you can see this in a little larger area. This one, I'm just going to show you how fast it can be if we just do individual heads instead of trying to use any kind of automated tool. So I'll just kind of click, 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 click here, click, click, click. This isn't going to be the best coverage here, so we'll have to make a little bit of a correction. We don't have the greatest. You're going to see what happens here. Now, I could go back and re-click these heads. I could go add one somewhere in the middle if I wanted to. I'm not going to. We'll just leave it for what it is. Not the greatest coverage, but we can kind of play with it. Here, I can just simply select by shift selecting the various arcs. Again, mirror tool, pick that center, arc over, and I'm good. Now, if I wanted to check that coverage, again, design zone, I'll shoot right around this. There we go. And I will show coverage analysis. And really, even though I didn't have a true head-to-head, I'm okay with it. I happen to know for a fact this is pretty shaded. This is actually a job I had designed years ago. So, you can kind of work around. You can make those decisions for what you want. Or if you needed to stretch some things out, add some more coverage, you could go put another head in there someplace in the middle and get the coverage you want if you need to add more. You make those choices. That's the beauty of this design process. All right. From here, a really great thing is you'll notice that these points, because we have that, I'm seeing how much PSI the head requires based on the nozzle. I will also see how many gallons per minute. And then you might ask, what do you mean by the nozzle? We didn't check the nozzle. The beauty of this is, for instance, the MP rotator that I'm using, I'll go over to the object info palette. You'll notice it's automatically choosing that specific model. All right. So there's the body. We've got a PRS 04, PRS 30. But the nozzle is the MP1000 because of the distance. So it automatically knows what that is. This is a 1090. This one right here is going to be a larger one. So we should be good. With this text being large, a really nice trick is to use your magic wand, the select similar tool, go to the preferences, say object type, and I can select all of my heads. Here, I can go to text, size, and let's just change that from 12 to 6. So if you do wind up with really large text in the way, this is a nice way to work. Okay. Now, the reason I like to have this information here is let's go ahead and let's connect these into a zone. All right. I'm going to go ahead and gray out my trees because I want to see where my trees exist. So I don't have piping running down the middle of this. Obviously, I've got, something in the way. So let's go ahead, let's grab our pipe tool. We want to then use the second tool here, the lateral mode. Lateral connects the heads to the valve. From the valve onto our point of connection is going to be the main line. So what we do is we're working backwards. We've designed our coverage. We know that we're good. I'm going to show you a little trick here is I'm going to click and drag a pipe out here. So I connected to a head and you'll notice it's starting to add up that 11 gallons per minute. That end pipe, and again, I'm going to a head coming off of that in some location that is just out of the way. It doesn't matter. I'm going to use this as kind of a totaling value. So here I need to work around this. Let's just go ahead and I can individually connect to each one of these. And you'll notice that as I connect, it's totaling up how many gallons per minute I have. So you could individually connect these any way that you want. And I'll go ahead from the other end. You'll notice I'm not adding this because they're not connected to that line. So we want to make sure that everything is connected appropriately. All right, I'm going to purposely leave this open here. I'm going to go up to this top row. A nice one is if you do have a straight row, we can come up above and there's this little glue bottle. So this is the auto connect mode. This allows me to draw one line across all of these. And you'll notice it makes individual connections to each of those. But you'll also notice they're not giving me a gallon per minute because I'm not connected to that main network. Let's go ahead and connect that main network right here to that pipe. Again, the pipes glow. And now you'll notice total for all these heads, I have 2.57 gallons per minute. If I would like to come off of this to put a valve in, I can drag and say, I want my valve placed right there. At that point, I'll come grab this and just delete that end pipe. Now this becomes the end and I'm good to go. Again, there's a lot of text here. So use that magic wand, select all of your pipe. You can change that text to a smaller size and away you go. Let's go grab a valve now. We'll move over to the valve tool. Here we can go pick different ones. And again, we're using Hunter, so I'm going to use the Hunter. I'm going to use a 1-inch PGV valve. I'll say select, and I will place that at the end of this pipe. I'll let it glow and then snap that in. You'll notice it starts to total up. Now, if you're asking the question, why didn't you reconnect those three heads? I'm going to show you a really nice trick. A lot of times we get a lot of pipe, a lot of numbers, a lot of everything here, but I don't quite know if I have everything connected. We have a really great way of checking this out. Let's go to Landmark, Irrigation, select Connected Components. When you do this, you need to select, in this case, I'll select the valve. It will go from the valve downstream and let me know what is connected. And you'll notice, wait a second, I've got a few heads there, 3 heads that are not connected. I missed something, all right? So from there, we can make choices to fix that. And in this case, it is nothing more than using a lateral, connecting that pipe, and now we get a more adequate total. I can also just select both these because obviously that text is pretty large. Text size 6. All right, so there we go. We have a zone. Let's do that one more time really quick over here. Let's go pipe. I'm going to run straight down. You'll notice it automatically links all of those. I'll run along that property line also. It links all of those. I don't have a tree in the way, so I'm going to tie this from there to there. I'll come off of this. And then let's go ahead and pop a valve in. With that, I can select whatever I want, or again, use that select similar, the magic wand, and just change my text. This is a very fast way to work. I can really design what I need to. Now, obviously you can preset some of your text. I'm showing that we can change that if that is an issue. All right, now we want to connect this. All right, and if you've been wondering, I'm doing all of this in Irrigation 2. We're limited on time, so I went ahead and pre-configured an irrigation zone system. I've got the back, I've got some drip in the back, I've connected everything through with Mainline. You don't need to see me do that over and over, but let's connect these two to Mainline. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to leave my trees on so I understand where I'm running pipe. And I'll show you the concept here. We come over with the pipe, I'm going to go to the Mainline tool, and I'm going to run from this valve up, and I'm going to just shoot right on over to my Mainline. I get the nice arcs, in other words, over the top of that pipe, I get that pipe jump. From this valve, I'll come off of that, and I'll come straight across. Oop. Zoom in a little bit here. There we go. Connect right to that. And again, it's going to jump over the top of the pipe. And if you say, well, wait a second, those are really large jumps, there's this little blue vertex here. It's the pipe jump vertex. I can move that any way that I want. And in this case, I'll just move it a little smaller. We're good. That's right over top of that head. So let's actually move it down here so it's not in the way of that head. This one here, same thing. Just reshape this a little bit. And this one here, I'll make a little smaller. So there we go. Now, point of connection. Let's go ahead and do a point of connection. I've got a main line here. I know that for a fact right in this little cubby hole is where our point of connection is. If you have one already, it's not bad to go ahead and place that. So as you're designing your pipe systems, you know where your target is. I already kind of knew where this was, and I have to demonstrate. So I'll go to the point of connection. I'm going to come on down, and I can pick a service line. I'll just pick the point of connection, and I'll pop that right here. I'm going to put it right on the edge there. I also know that I have a system component, and we need to come in with a backflow preventer. That will also be in here, but I'm going to show you another way to kind of work this. All right, so I'll ignore that now. I want to point that out just because a lot of people say, wait a second, you're missing some parts. I'm going to take the main line again. I'm going to attach from that main line, and then I will attach to the point of connection. Now, I want to point out, notice that everything is glowing. I get a lot of people that go to an edge thinking that is, it just graphically shows up. We're not adding or connecting them correctly. That component needs to glow. All right, that's very important. Again, from here, I'll select both of these. Text, size, 6. But I want to put in a pressure vacuum brake. So I'll put a PVB in here. There's no need for an RPZ in this one. You can choose what you want. I'll choose a pressure vacuum brake. And you'll notice I can snap it right in the middle of that line. You'll also notice this line splits. So it now starts to split, and you say, wait a second, but I'm not getting any value for this point of connection. So it's primarily because we don't have some specific values set up or what's happening, but we're going to go ahead and see what's happening. We can get from catalog, and you can see that I need a 1 inch. Let's go ahead and choose the 1 inch, change this. You can also enter custom ones in. So, here's a Zern. I actually didn't add this in. This was from another training, but you can enter data in. So I can add and enter in specific data, even the performance data, which is necessary. So I get a lot of people that also ask, well, wait a second, it doesn't have the one that I use. We can enter that in, not a problem. All right, so I'll go ahead, I'll use that generic. Let's grab that RPZ 1 inch, say okay, done, and we're good to go. Now we have 2 more drip zones. We've got one here and one here. You'll notice that what I have done is I have created kind of the mulch area, and I'm going to utilize those to create the drip area for me. All right. The other one is I want to know what I have for plants here. So let's go turn on our shrubs and our perennials quick, and even our ground cover. You'll notice that I've got some ground cover over here. You know, what do I have for plants here? I've got some taxus in there. I have some astilbe. Over on this side, I've got some hydrangea. So I really need to understand that this side's going to use a little bit more. Again, I know it's shaded. I'm going to use a little bit more water. Out here, this is also pretty shaded. So I might want to use different types of pipe. I don't want a ton of water. I've got a walkway here. So let's take a look at what we have and what we're doing. The best way to design or to understand is I can go down and look at what the water usage is, but I've added in, just for your ability to play, a data viz. So the data visualization, you'll notice you'll have one down here called plant water usage. This gives us a color range that highlights what the water usage is per plant. So I can start to understand, oh, okay, I have some specific needs for this plant. What are those? And as you design the color system, you start to then design, go, oh, based on green, I need whatever. Based on blue, I need more water. You can start to design and understand what you need in those specific plant ranges. All right, so this is a great one to do. I've added that along. You can play with that. It's a great analysis tool to understand what I'm doing with irrigation. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and turn these all off one more time. And you'll notice that the ones I did in the back, I've got all my lines here. Everything is set up. The line is a general representation of what I'm going to do. And you're thinking, great, I have to design a bunch of lines. Not really. So we have a really good way of working with this. Let's go over to our drip outlet. And I'm going to use the little paint bucket mode here and make sure that, you know, we're all set up. I can pick the type of pipe I want to use. I'm going to use an HDLCV. And then I just click my plant bed and it creates drip pipe. From there, there's a couple things I'm going to do. I'm going to select both of these to speed this up. You'll notice that over in the object info palette, I am choosing the type of pipe. It's an HDL 04 12-inch spacing. But what I want to do up top is a configuration. We have snaking and branching. Branching is going to be that kind of grid network. It's going to equalize my pressure, my flows. You'll notice that if I choose branching, it changes. I have an estimated full length of pipe, but my average length, based on the direction that I have the line going, allows me to kind of model this up appropriately and understand that I only have 12 feet average worth of friction. Okay, but I have 487 feet of pipe total here. If I go to snaking, that goes away. I have 854. What that's going to do is that is one continual pipe, just back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. It is not in a grid network. I wind up with 854 feet worth of friction. As we know, if you're used to doing this, I'm going to put water on the front side. It's going to work great. The end of that pipe, nothing's coming out. So we have a little bit of an issue. So you can choose what you want. Small little areas, you can go ahead and do snaking. Larger areas, you probably want to do branching. Okay, down below, we can choose the pipe. So as we said here, I might want to change this from that 0412, but how do I get that data? I'm going to go here, get from catalog. Here I get an entire list. And if you don't like Hunter, you can go pick Netafim, Rainbird, Toro. If you want to pick a different series, you can. But I'm going to say, you know what? I'm fine over here. Those are spaced pretty good with the hydrangeas. I'm going to use a 624 and then say OK. That will recalculate the amount of water that I'm using based on that area. The other one is I want to show you the average. Let's go back up above. Our average line length is 2 feet. Notice that the info is up here. I'm using 0.87 gallons per minute at 40 psi required to run this. I have all these different points. You know, the flow, these two over the numbers. This kind of moves that number out of the way if I want to move it up or reposition that. I usually don't. We have a connection point. That's where we're going to connect to with our valve. In this case, I'm going to move that connection point all the way down below here. I'll put it right smack dab in the middle, and then all my lines get crazy. That's because on the other side, you're going to see the direction point. That allows me to set a direction of how I want this pipe to move. And I want them to move linear in that direction. You'll also notice that once you do that, you may recalculate or use a different amount of pipe. The other thing we can do is what is our row spacing? We can adjust that. So a lot of customization based on what it is. In this case over here, I don't mind the 0412. We can use that, or if I want to change that, actually I could. Let's go change that to 0612. We'll leave that spacing there. All right, so let's select both of ours. Let's go ahead and change that text to a smaller size. And then let's go ahead and connect these. So what I want to do is I'm going to connect both of these together. So simply because this one here is really only using 0.63 gallons per minute. The other one is, you know, not that much either. So, you know, we've got plenty of room to add both of those together. I'm going to use the pipe tool. And you'll notice that I can either find the end point or that connection point, or I can just click anywhere here. And I'm going to pretend like I have a sleeve that runs straight across, and away you go. Now notice what happens is it does redirect where that connection point is, which means that your anchor point is going to be different, or your direction point. So I can define that direction point if needed. In this case, I'll run it horizontally that direction, and I'm good. What I'm going to do then is I'm just going to grab a valve, and in this case, make sure that I am using a zone kit. This has the pressure regulator and the filter automatically built in. I will drop that right there on the end of that pipe. You can see it totals up. And then I'm going to grab my main line. Sorry, let me back up one. See, even I make errors every once in a while. Let's back up and let's go grab our pipe and use the lateral between those two. That's important. There we go. Make sure you use a lateral to connect these, not a main line. That was my fault. Let's go ahead and then use our main line off of that valve, and I'll connect that over to my main line. Again, I get the jump. I see where everything is at. I am fully connected. You also notice up at the point of connection, for this system to operate, because we are in designed information in the object info palette, it's going to say to run perfectly, I need 67 psi, and I have my highest zoned usage is 8.29 gallons per minute. That point of connection can be altered. All right, so we can go ahead and adjust things. What is that static source pressure? Is it a service line type? What are we using? What is that service line? So you can start to see we're generating this and it's starting to change values here as we go. What is that service line length? Is there a source elevation change? This is important. I actually did one where 5 stories down in a parking ramp was my source and we had to pipe up. So it takes care of that. Is there a water meter involved, and what is that water meter size? So we start to see all of these things incorporate into the system. All right. From there, we can do a calculated information, and it will adjust all of your spray to show based on the pressures that we have where we're at. And this one you can see without being a regulated system, I'm going to have some really large throws. So obviously we want to use some sort of regulated system, regulate that to a specific, but we should be good. Our coverage is going to be perfect. And we're good to go. All right. From here, there are a lot of other things we can do. The one thing that I would say is once we are done, we want to ensure that we are ready to go. I will come straight to Landmark, Irrigation, select Connected Objects, and go right to that point of connection. Ensure that all of your network is glowing. I haven't missed anything here. That's perfect. Number 2, while that is all active, I'm going to go ahead and I can start to turn off specific things. Actually, we'll go ahead. We'll just do this one at a time. Let's grab all of our pieces here, and I'm going to say I no longer want to show pressure or show flow. Let's click all of our pipe, and let's turn all of that off also. I only really need this while I'm designing to help me understand what's happening. Documentation is going to be a little different. So this allows me then to click a valve, do the same thing. It selects all of my valves. And obviously any of my drip pipe, I can turn all of that off. I now have a full design ready to go. I do have 2 little oddball things. I've got my point of connection and my pressure vacuum brake, and those, you know, because they are independent pieces, we'll have to do them independently. And away we go. So there we are. We have our design. Now for quick documentation to show you what we can do. I'm going to go to View, Create Viewport, and I'll put it on as pre-made L7, and I'll say OK. So there I go. I can move this over to one side. So number 1, I have some things that I want to do. Let's go to our Resource Manager, and in this drawing, let's go ahead and go to Irrigation Details. You can see that I can start to grab a few of these. Let's go grab our drip tube layout. I can pop that on my sheet. Let's go up and grab my RPZ detail. We don't have an RPZ in there. Let's go grab a valve box detail, and we can plug that in. You can see that they go pretty quick. So not a problem. Drip zone valve. Let's pop that in over here. You can arrange these any way that you want. Another thing that's going to be important is getting specific information. So we have a few different pieces here that we can do. We've got some drawing labels, irrigation labels. We're going to do that in a little bit. You know, we have a number of things, but we do have some worksheets that we need to put in here. Internally, we have tools, reports, create report. Here, I'm going to use pre-formatted report, and I can scroll down to irrigation, and in this case, let's use valve schedule. I'll place that report on drawing, and I'll say, let's cancel that. I think I have a couple in this already. Oh, that's why. Here we go. Let's go to worksheets. Here we go, irrigation reports. We've got some pre-built ones. I forgot I pulled these in for you guys. So we have some pre-built irrigation reports. These are really kind of nice. Let's go in and let's grab that pipe schedule. Let's just drag that down here. It's done, ready to go. Let's grab our valve schedule. Let's pop that in there. Let's go ahead and grab our outlet schedule. Okay, if they're not totaling up, you might want to click and recalculate. And there you go. And we can move these around. Let me grab that irrigation pipe schedule and recalculate that also. There you go. And these can be put anywhere you need to. So we'll just kind of organize them somewhere on this document. If you need to resize them, you can. You just grab a little corner. I can resize them to whatever I want, so they fit appropriately in this case. And you can see reporting works really quick. So we start to see what we have going on here. All right, but documentation over here. Let's double click. Let's go to annotations. Let's come up above to our resource manager. Let's just say all resources so we can actually get everything here. Let's go to irrigation labels, and let's take a look at the head nozzle body, the irrigation head tag. So I like to label my irrigation heads. We'll go into this front area here, and you want to use the second mode, and over here this toward tag. Let's use that, and we can then start to capture. Let's capture some specifics here. Actually, let's go down below here. Let's just grab this, and I can label that. Let's grab that one. I can label that. Let's grab that. You'll notice that it's grabbing the information and telling me specifically what those heads are. All right. If I come up, let's actually go to the, I've got a 360 right here. Actually, let's just do this. Here's another nice little trick. Let's do the third mode. We can label everything that we want in one shot, and it'll grab all of those individual tags. This is a really fast way to work. This allows us to kind of reposition these as we need them. All right, we can label our, whatever. Here's our drip pipe. Let's go ahead and label the drip pipe. I'll just grab that drip. Let's label that someplace. Whoops. Let's go ahead and pick just that mode. We'll do individuals here. So I can pick and choose whatever it is. This is telling me the size, what it is, HDL06, how many feet I have, you name it. I can also do this with my pipe. So let's go to our pipe tag, and I can start to grab specific pipe to label what this pipe is. Now, obviously, this is a small job, so everything is going to be 1 inch. But if you do have multiples, it's easy to label those. The valve tags, same thing. Let's go grab the valve. This is going to pick that specific valve. I'll drop it over here on the side. Tells me how many gallons per minute it is, what the size is. It's a Hunter Industry PGV 100G. And away we go. All right. What's nice about this too is if we change that valve, if we want to, it will read that information. So the one thing we didn't do in our design is we can go back. Let's go grab that. Let's grab that specific valve, and I can give it a zone ID. In this case, just so you can see a change, let's call it zone 8. And it will automatically read when we need this. And it should. And of course, now it's acting up. But this gives us that ability to go ahead and change what we need to. All right. So it will read that data. Everything should be good. We can label what we need to. We can show what we have. And here again is another nice little trick. I got a little spot over here. I'm going to say option. I'm going to drag this over. Let's make this really small. Maybe not quite that small, but we'll move it down here. I'll double click, go into annotations. I'm going to erase all of those specific annotations out of there. And then what I like to do is over in our design layers, I like to say coverage analysis. Here, what we'll do, and make sure you're doing everything at the right scale here. There we go. So here what I'll do is in that coverage analysis, I will actually go in, draw that design zone immediately around the property. And you'll notice the property, this is a little spot in the neighbor's yard up against their garage that needed to be kind of custom plant back there. So we're going to go ahead and drip that anyways, even though it's not on our property. I'll go immediately around that zone or around that property. I will say show coverage analysis. You can see the coverage analysis, and the beauty of that is now in that viewport, whatever scale we actually set this, let's make it just slightly larger, 16th. I can go in, turn on that layer of coverage analysis and show the coverage analysis for this site also. So there's an enormous amount here that you can do. It's very fast, very rapid, very accurate. You can doctor this up and really make it look great and give you all the information you need. Get appropriate design, appropriate coverage, and just go from there. I mean, there isn't a better tool on the market for really good irrigation design.